Today we're looking at a house that's roughly about 20 years old, and it's definitely looking about 20 years old. It needs some maintenance in just about every area. So come with me and take a look at what a 20-year-old house looks like in my area. Now when we arrived, we were able to tell right away that the shingles on this house looked to possibly be original. Lots of shiny edges showing through. That means the granules have started to wear off and you're seeing a lot of the fiberglass coming through. So we know it's old, and we saw a couple of other issues from ground level, but we're still gonna get up there and take a look. Looks like Gabriel's already up there, so let's go join him. So one of the first things that I noticed from ground level, besides the missing granules, was this indentation right here. And this can oftentimes be an indication of moisture damage. You can see whenever I put my boot on it right here, that it really gives a lot. And so I have a feeling some water has somehow gotten into the structure in here, but we're gonna have to take a look in the attic and see further what's going on. Now, as we're inspecting up here, what we're really finding is just age. I mean, the roof is showing its age. You definitely can see a little bit more areas of those missing granules. You can really get an idea of what that looks like at roof level. We see fasteners that are missing sealant, which was probably there at one point but wore off. Also, we see some flanges underneath some of the plumbing vent stacks that are starting to lift up. This is an area where wind-driven rain can get in there. And then we see the rusted dryer vent over here. And furthermore, from the ground level, you could see that it's completely clogged up with lint, which can also be a fire hazard. And so these are all things that really need to get taken care of. But overall, this roof has just lived its life. It's at the end of its life, and replacement is imminent. So if you're going to buy this house, you need to know that at some point in the not so distant future, you're going to be looking at a roof replacement if you can't get that kind of negotiated into your deal. Now, by no means is this an advertisement for Cougar Paws roof shoes, but I do want to say that even though this roof is relatively low pitch, on a house like this that's this old, the granules start to get really loose and it can become very slippery. And so I always recommend grabbing the right shoes for the job. In this case, it's my Cougar Paws. We got these brand new low tops. They're doing a great job on this roof. Now, when we get inside one of these homes, one of the first things we do is we run around trying to take hot water temperatures. And we did that today, and we found that we were not getting hot water. What does this mean? Well, it usually is an indication that the gas is turned off. And sure enough, we went outside, we looked at the meter, and we found that the gas was turned off to this property today. This does not mean that we cannot do the inspection. There is still a ton of things to be inspected. However, we can't run any gas equipment like the water heater or the fireplace or the cooking equipment or the furnace. But we can come back at a later date and just check out those items. And for right now, we're gonna get the rest of the inspection done. Now, this next thing I'm about to tell you, you might not find it to be that big of a problem. As a matter of fact, you might like the way it looks. But I'm here to tell you that heavy foliage up against the house can be a problem, and here's why. This is an attraction for wood-destroying insects. It creates shade, it creates an area where moisture can be kept back over here and kind of not dry out because of the shade. And of course, it's a highway for any type of insects to get inside your house, right? Carpenter ants, but also termites. Termites love moist, dark places. And so what does this do? This creates an area where it can be kind of wet down there, harbor moisture. Of course, it has the shade, and it can be an area where you could possibly get termite activity, or at least what we call a conducive condition for termite activity. So these bushes up near your house, they look great, but keep them trimmed back. Recommended about 18 inches. So one thing you've probably heard me talk about in other videos are corner pops in the foundation. While they look a little bit scary, they're really not that big of a deal. They're usually a cosmetic issue. And these are diagonal cracks that are in the corners of homes with brick veneer. And it happens because the moist stop or masonry flashing that they have that goes up the wall and over the brick ledge, they don't do a good job of placing that around the corners. So the brick and mortar gets in contact with the foundation, things expand and contract, and you get these little cracks. Sometimes, as seen in a lot of areas, the corners can just shear right off. This still isn't a really big deal, mostly a cosmetic issue, but it can be an entry point for insects. So it's best to seal them up so that insects can't get in there. Now, as I'm walking over here on the right side of the house, we're noticing a couple of things. For one, we've got a window here that's showing signs of a failed thermal seal. We got some splotches, and we got some streaks and little spots everywhere. This is an indication that the seal between the double panes of glass has become compromised, and this window pane here is losing its ability to insulate properly. Now, we got that, and we have a few more of those going on all throughout the property. There's maybe about 4 or 5 of them on this entire structure. Now, Further down here, I hear a sound. Now I know there's a bathroom right on the other side of this wall. And so what I'm hearing sounds like an exhaust fan, which we have them all running inside the house, but it is coming from the soffit area, which is an indication to me that instead of running the bathroom exhaust all the way to the exterior, like is required by current standards, they're just dumping it off into the soffit area, and this is where the exhaust is going. At one point before this house was built, they used to just drop them into the attic, and you just have exhaust going into the attic. They decided somewhere in the 90s to start dumping it off into the soffit, so they believed that that was getting rid of the exhaust. This is no longer an accepted practice, and it needs to go fully to the exterior, through the roof or through the wall. In this case, it's better than just dumping off into the attic, but not exactly the greatest situation. So this is the area where we were, and that's the soffit where we heard the sound. That's the bathroom, and you can see up on the roof, and there's just no vents coming through the roof whatsoever. We do have the dryer vent over there, but we don't have any of the exhaust vents running through the roof. Now, I wouldn't throw this in any type of red flag category or anything, but it's certainly not ideal. But as a home inspector licensed in the state of Texas, we are required to write this up as a deficiency. But this is what we call an as-built deficiency. Even though it's not built to today's standards, it wasn't exactly done wrong at the time. So I'm at the primary bathroom right now. We got a couple of issues. For one, at this sink, you can see we got some damage to the cultured marble sink here, but also what we have is a drip that's happening. Even though the faucet is off, it is still dripping. You can see no matter how hard I push on it, it still drips. Now, if I turn this to cold, it stops. But if it's on hot, it continues to drip. This can greatly increase your water bill. And so this definitely needs to be changed. So the faucet itself can be changed, but there's also a cartridge inside here. You can just change the cartridge and that'll take care of this issue. And so that's definitely something we want to bring up, but also the toilet. Okay, so the toilet, what we do is we walk up with our calf here and we just push against it to see if it's loose. And you can see that when I do that, this one here is very loose. So we definitely need to get that corrected as well. So another thing in this bathroom, this shower right here, what I want to talk to you about is actually inside the shower. And what we have here is we have what's called weep holes at the bottom near the shower pan. Okay, these are some molded shower pan and these weep holes are formed into it. This is so that condensation or moisture that builds up behind the shower walls has an access path out. And you can see here that they have sealed over these weep holes. And also you can see a pretty nasty growth that's happening. I feel like one is probably contributing to the other. Of course, if you don't clean this stuff, you're going to get a microbial growth, you're going to get mildew, you're going to get mold, but I have a feeling that moisture is getting trapped back there because it doesn't have an access point out. Because you can see every one of the weep holes has actually been sealed over. And so moisture doesn't have an access path out, and so therefore excess moisture is going to breed this type of activity. I do feel like that is definitely lending itself to this situation. I personally wouldn't want to just clean this. I would want to clear it all out, get all of that caulk removed, and then open up the weep holes and then monitor performance from there. One thing that we find a lot on older homes is problems with the weather stripping around exterior doors. This can lead to a variety of problems, energy efficiency being one, bug intrusion being another one. You can see around this back entry door that we have an opening here where we can see daylight coming through. The weather stripping is damaged, it's old, it needs to be updated and replaced to keep a nice tight seal around that door. So I'm taking a look under the kitchen sink and immediately I'm clued into something that might just be a problem. And what it is these large pieces of plywood that they have put over the shelf that was underneath the sink. This indicates to me that we had a leak, probably a bad one, and it's pretty damaged under there. And when I lift up this board, it definitely reveals that that is the truth. We got a lot of things going on down there. We got some damage. We got probably what looks like to be some type of mold, all kinds of things. Definitely something we want to put in the report and bring up. We don't know what this is. We don't inspect for mold, at least not currently. And so we can't claim what this is, but it definitely looks like a mold-like substance. And you can 100% see that there's been some water damage down here. So definitely something we want to bring attention to in the report. One of the easiest things we inspect during our inspections is usually the microwave. In this case, this one's really easy to inspect because it doesn't work at all. But I've never seen a microwave with more wrong with it that didn't work. I mean, first of all, the door is broken. They have taped it together apparently, but mainly this thing's being held together by grease. I don't know what we were doing here, but we were frying something and all kinds of grease went through this, which is probably why it doesn't work. Grease everywhere, it's very sticky, but I'm gonna open it up so you can see the inside. The door is pretty much grease stuck closed, and so it was actually hard to open the first time, but you can see amongst many reasons this thing just needs to be replaced. There's no cleaning this thing. I don't know why it's not working, but time for a new one. So once again, that's not everything we found, but that's everything that's going to go in this video because we got to get to another inspection. Remember, my name is Matt with Texas Edge Home Inspections, and give us a call because we want to inspect your next house. you.